Hello F1 and IndyCar fans, welcome to Formula Pun Racer, the channel where car racing and comedy collide. Today is June 28th, 2026, and I'm here to give you my review on today's F1 race at the Austrian GP in Spielberg, as well as the IndyCar round which occurred 7 days from now on June 21st at Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And I can tell you, for the IndyCar race, it was indeed a cheesy affair, and we'll get on with it by saying it all started with Chip Ganassi driver and IndyCar Championship points leader Alex Palou of Spain on pole and leading away. Team Penske driver David Malukas started second, and Marcus Armstrong of Meyer-Shank Racing started third. As the field was progressing onto the first corner on the first lap, trouble would ensue already for Denmark's Christian Lundgaard of Arrow McLaren as he rear-ended Scott Dixon, which in turn meant that Christian Lundgaard's front wing had broken and was sent all the way to the back of the field, forcing him to wing it in an attempt to continue on, but his chances seemed pretty much dashed right there, especially when you break a wing. Alex Palou and the leading drivers would pit on lap 14, relinquishing the lead over to Meyer-Shank racer Felix Rosenqvist of Sweden. And 1 lap later, Romain Grosjean's Dale Coyne entry lost its left rear tire in the track, so could this wheel being lost come around for those playing pit strategies? Who knows, but what they say goes around comes around.
Hey, where'd that wheel come from?
Well, no doubt about it, Grosjean's left rear wheel coming off did bring out the yellow flag, bunching up the cars, and the drivers would continue on from there with Rosenqvist leading and Palou second. But unfortunately, by lap 29, when Alex Palou took his second pit stop, he unfortunately violated the pit lane speed limit, and he had to go for a drive-through penalty, which definitely cost the Spaniard dearly. So, no dice for the Spaniard this time around. What? And by the same token, Christian Lundgaard began to claw his way back up into the top 10 at this point. So, looks like this broken front wing at the start of the race, along with a caution which he desperately needed to catch up, would play a part in how this Danish butter cookie would turn out at the end of this race.
I hope you're right.
If you thought the consistent Alex Palou making a rare mistake wasn't bizarre enough, 1 lap later, after he took his drive-through penalty, it looked like Felix Rosenqvist, who was still leading at this point, was about to head for the pits for a desperately needed pit stop, but unfortunately, right as he was about to enter, the yellow flag came out again, this time for Denmark's Christian Rasmussen of Ed Carpenter Racing, whose clutch control unit had failed him right at the finish line, so Felix just had to duck back onto the track, forcing him to stay out, which, who knows how this would have panned out if he had just made it before the yellow lights came on. So Felix Rosenqvist's Swedish charge just turned sourish.
Where's Marcus?
Marcus Armstrong inherited the lead from his teammate during the caution period when the pits finally opened and Felix took his pit stop. But it was costly for Felix indeed, despite being under yellow. But at the same time, the race restarted on lap 32 with Armstrong firmly in the lead, and Penske driver David Malukas in second. Christian Lundgaard was still clawing his way up through the top 10 at this point. And it would stay this way mostly between Malukas and Armstrong. And as I said, Lundgaard was continuing to get closer and closer despite the broken wing contact earlier in the start of the race. And it would be down to the wire. But unfortunately, Lundgaard, as he was able to get by Marcus Armstrong with 4 laps to go, well, it all went horribly wrong as Marcus Armstrong's hybrid power unit failed on him as he crossed the finish line. Game over for the young Kiwi. Yeah, pretty gutting for Marcus Armstrong, to the point where, considering how the hybrid unit let him down, the president of the American Honda Racing Corporation issued a formal apology in regards to all this. And as for Felix Rosenqvist, who had finished 8th in the race, it is said that at the end of this season, he will part ways with Meyer-Shank Racing. Where is he going to go next year? That is yet to be decided as of now. So the race restarted with 3 laps to go, and it was down to the wire between Christian Lundgaard, who managed to claw his way up from last to first, and David Malukas was really close to him in second as well. With 1 lap to go, the battle for third place between Graham Rahal and Will Power was really neck and neck, but with a few turns to go before the checkered flag, Graham Rahal cut across Will Power, and Will Power slammed him into the wall. So Graham was out, and Will Power inherited third place. But when all was said and done, the Danish butter cookie Christian Lundgaard would take his second win of the season, a superb victory for the Danish butter cookie. David Malukas would finish second, and Will Power inherited third. Congratulations to you three.
Where's Marcus?
Unfortunately for Marcus Ericsson, he finished 13th in this race. Alex Palou would finish 5th, and Kiffin Simpson, his teammate, finished 4th. Congratulations to the young Cayman Islander for a superb best career finish in IndyCars. Yeah, man. I'm sure your cousin Homer would appreciate this. As for the Austrian GP, I'm afraid there isn't much to talk about because the boring dominance of Mercedes continues again. This time it was George Russell that would take pole, and the Ferraris would start second and third, Hamilton second and Leclerc third. But when the lights went out, not only did George Russell pull far away, but the Ferraris seemed to fall back a bit. And when all was said and done in the end, Lewis Hamilton could only muster up 5th place, and Charles Leclerc 8th. The Aston Martins and Cadillacs were also putting on a pathetic performance as usual. So to my Caddy crazy cousin, I'm afraid to say Cadillac, both of the cars didn't even finish 5 laps. They were both out by lap 4. The first one went out on lap 2 and the other one went out on lap 4. Lance Stroll's Aston Martin, to no surprise, also gave out with engine failures, and so did Williams' Carlos Sainz Jr. So those 4 cars were the only retirements of the race. But when all was said and done, George Russell would take his second F1 race of the season, his first being in Australia. Max Verstappen of Red Bull Ford Racing would finish second, and championship leader Kimi Antonelli, Russell's teammate, would finish third. A Mercedes 1-3. Mercedes continues to lead the Constructors' Championship. Antonelli, with his third place finish, still holds the lead by George Russell over 40 points, I should say. So to my Caddy crazy cousin, whose name is Mellon, James Mellon Jr., I will say one thing. Cadillac may have sucked miserably in Austria, but on the flip side today, in the IMSA round that took place the same day in Watkins Glen, Cadillac did come out victoriously with Team Whelen Racing, and their drivers, Earl Bamber and Jack Aitken, took Cadillac to victory for the second time this season. The first time was in the streets of Detroit. Congratulations to Cadillac there. Congratulations as well to Mercedes for another 1-3 finish in Austria. And no doubt about it. Aren't you glad that Oscar Piastri would finish 4th for McLaren?
Yes!
So to get back to the Road America race, we can celebrate Christian Lundgaard's victory for our McLaren with some orange here and some cinnamon Danish here. Congratulations to Christian Lundgaard. As a result of his second IndyCar win this season, he is now 4th in the points. Kyle Kirkwood has dropped back from 2nd to 3rd as David Malukas' 2nd place in the latest race has elevated him to 2nd in the points behind Alex Palou. But thanks to Lundgaard's latest victory, you could say the Danish butter cookie does have a sporting chance to maybe make it into the top 3 in the points. Who knows? Maybe take the crown away from Alex Palou. We'll see what happens, as the next IndyCar round takes place the day after we celebrate America's 250th birthday. In other words, July 5th, the day after America celebrates with fireworks, the IndyCars take place in mid-Ohio. And on that same day and a few hours before that, Formula One returns to George Russell's homeland of Great Britain for the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and here's where you can catch the action. So once again, thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Formula Pun Racer, where you don't have to be a racing fan to get a good laugh. Good luck to all the racers at Silverstone and Mid-Ohio, and I'll see you in the next video. I am Aaron Cylinder, firing on all cylinders.